This top are made from these. Hello friends, and welcome back to my second week of posting on YouTube. I am beside myself with pride because I have managed to actually put together a second video, which was so hard. But if you're seeing me for the first time, hi and welcome. My name is Bongiwe and this is my creative corner. So I love thrifting, I love sewing, so I try as much as possible to now want to use thrifted materials basically to make clothes. So I wanted to do the 75 hard challenge, that's what it's called. And I figured that there's no ways I'm going to stay with 75 hard things, or however that works. Is it 75 days or is it 75 things? I can't remember, but whatever, I just wasn't going to stay motivated. So I wanted just one thing that I knew would just push me to the limits. Firstly, posting myself on the internet. Secondly, having to keep up the sewing, just so that I have enough content to actually post. But thirdly, I needed to learn how to edit, figure out sound, lighting, etc, etc. There's a lot of it, so I decided that I'm going to start a YouTube channel. So here we are, and thank you for watching me. And on to this week's business. I will be turning this denim jeans that I thrifted. Guys, they were literally 20 rands, 20 bucks, and they were brand new. I got two of them to make this top. This is the second version of the top that I actually wanted. The first one, I did wear it, as you're going to see in the end.
What?
So how I'm going to be taking you through the process is we're obviously going to start with version 1 of the top, which is the basic structure of it. And then I will then show you how I sort of edited it, if that's what it's called, guys. English today. Yo. Anyway, yeah, so how I'm going to be cutting up, and cutting the front, making it fit, etc. And what was the third process around that. So yeah. Hi. So the first step, guys, to working with denim, at least for me, is I don't have a sewing machine that is very strong. It is semi-industrial, but I just find that it doesn't like denim and all that, and it doesn't go up, unlike a normal domestic machine where you can pull your presser foot as far as possible. I just find that my machine doesn't do that. It has like a small space under my presser foot, and that's all I can fit. So I really do like cutting up jeans at the seams because they're difficult to sew with if you leave the trimmings, which are great, but yeah. And I've also found it very difficult when I was doing top stitching because of the same reason. Top stitch thread is very thick and my machine hates that. Anyway, so the second part here, what I'm doing now is I do not add sewing allowance onto my patterns, and that's because I just find that because fabrics have different stretches, if I want to reuse this pattern, then I don't have the headache of trying to figure out, if that was good sewing allowance, etc, etc. So here are my pieces laid down, and one piece of advice that I can give you guys is please label your pieces. I always struggle with labeling because I'm lazy, I think, or I don't think about it when I need to be doing it because it's extra work, but it really will save you time. And the times that I did label, I still have to find a method of labeling that I do not actually forget, because girl, most of the times I would just forget unless I've laid them down like I did and just pin as I go, then that's easy. So another cool thing that I bought from Shein is a magnetic seam guide, right, or seam allowance guide. It is basically you just put it on your machine. I think a lot, even the plastic ones, because they do have metal by the presser foot, so you should be able to use this.
it just helps, with making sure that your seams are equal. So this is one thing that I would advise that you get. And now we would have sewn all the pieces together. That is their outer shell that's made of denim, and then also the lining. So with lining, right, especially with specialistic material, I don't think that's a word, but anyway, like your denim and all that, when I wanted to look very professional, I sort of cut out parts of the lining where you would basically have a peak, right? So the neck part, the underarm part, the sort of the button side. I didn't have buttons here, so I really didn't mind. I just didn't cut the, and then anywhere where I feel like it might turn and you might see, right? I don't want you to see a different material, I want you to see denim. It is a lot of work. I'm sure there's like a method of doing this that's not as painful as the way I do it, but I love doing it because I just find it makes the finish of the garment very nice. And it looks professional, once you have it on, and those parts that turn, like the bottom part that I had open would, when you walk it would turn open, so then it's a very nice touch unless you have very nice lining material. So yeah, basically what I do is that it's pinning, pinning, pinning. Okay, now the trim is looking much clearer. So remember, with anything that's rounded, that will be your neckline, your armhole, anything or anywhere that's rounded. You basically want to, they call this scoring. So you want to score your material. So there's two ways of doing this, so that there's no bulge, your fabric still lays flat. You just cut it a bit, not too much, not too close to your thread, right, where you've sewed. Otherwise, then yeah, you're going to have a problem. But yeah, so I do this. Others basically just cut very close to your thread line, which I don't like, just in case there's an adjustment that's required. I do leave a bit of material, and you can see here I did definitely cut off the cut off the thread. I am pretty sure, I can promise you, that I had to go back, re-sew the neck so that it accommodates for that part. Okay, now we have a top, honey. We have a top. So one of the most important things, if you want your work to look, professionally done, so that you can keep it for long, for anything that has lining, I always like my lining to not have the seams outside. I love sort of the seams to face each other, both the lining and the main material. So for tops and or blazers, if you're doing that, you basically want this method where you want to leave a space in the middle of your lining, which you're going to use to turn. As you can see, I'm basically sort of, I've turned on the arms on the inside, and then I'm using that hole to basically get in. And this is how you sew. You basically take the arms out via that hole. So this applies for even when you're making blazers. You are on your cuff, your arm cuff, when it's time to sew it. This is how you do it. You put your hand through that hole, and then you do your thing. You take it out, and I can tell you, this is not easy. It takes time to figure out if you have not twisted the material, you have done it well, etc. So be patient with yourself, because I am not patient with myself, but I get it done either way. So yeah, I think this, guys, is basically sort of the process of how I made this jacket. And look at that, guys, I gave you a tutorial. Leave the fact that we cannot actually see what I'm doing right now, but I really tried. And thank you so much for watching this video. Here is the reveal in 5. So this was version 1 of the top that I did not like. Not sure what it was about it, but that's why I changed it basically. But I think I can remake this. It is not the worst thing that I've ever made. It's just the arms were too small. I am so in love with it. I know I said this about the last one, but I think we have a winner. I am going to be wearing the heck out of this. I think I haven't figured out how to style it for winter. I will if I can. Or maybe one of those days like today, it's not too cold. So, I can wear it and then have a jacket on top. But this is it. I am so in love. Few mistakes that I made. I actually trimmed the back instead of the front arm, but it was really too late to actually fix it. So I actually like the front as is. It's not as wide as the initial top was. So I do think that I've got a winner here. What do y'all think?